Welcome to the Weekly Gaming Blast, the podcast that brings you the latest gaming news unhinged. I'm AkibanaZero.
And I'm RTG. Hello.
Wow, that rebranding
I
there.
know, right? It's all rolling out. It's going to be by the end of the month. It's all slap bang going to all be out. So look forward to that as it comes along.
I have a question, though. If people want to just hear Rue the Gamer, will they have to buy it as DLC?
No, I'm going to put it in a loot box.
Each letter in a different loot box.
Like a character platformer, you have to collect the letters.
If you got Z, you're screwed. Try again. I see. How have you been, man?
I've been very well, thank you very much. Like, I'm feeling very good about this rebrand that, like, I'm just slowly working my way through, kind of working out all the kinks of. So I'm really looking forward to going forward with this. And as I announced on my last two streams, actually, that I'm switching my focus of my streams and my YouTube by extension to more fighting game focused. So that's also really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Ooh, tell us a little bit about that. What can people expect from this new content?
Exactly the same level of salt you've come to expect. That's not going to change. The only thing that's going to change is that there's going to be a larger variety of fighting games on my channel. So Street Fighter Arcade Edition's out this week, so that's going to be 2 streams as it is. Dragon Ball FighterZ comes out towards the end of the month. That obviously I'm going to stream that on launch. So I'll be doing streams on launch if I can, if I'm not doing other things. And also my streams are now going to become like fighting games on Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday. And there's also going to be an additional stream on a Sunday that's going to be me playing another game. So that means I'm going to have to, before the end of the month, finish Cuphead. so that Indie Tuesday can be substituted for another fighter. So good luck to me.
Well, you're pretty close, aren't you?
I am. I'm 2 bosses. I'm literally the penultimate boss now.
Okay.
So with any luck, I can get this thing beaten.
Great. I'm sure you'll be able to do it. That was a pretty interesting boss, the little board game that you had to play there, and with the little mini bosses.
Yeah, but it's frustrating too because of
Yeah.
exactly that. So we'll see. I'll be able to do it. It'll be fine. But like, yeah, I've now got like 2 or 3 weeks to finish Cuphead, and that's 2 or 3 streams. That's it. So we'll see.
Ooh, no pressure.
No pressure at all. How are things at your end?
Pretty good, pretty good. I am literally at the last boss of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I'm just about done with that game. Done. I mean, I really want to do the New Game Plus when they finally release it, and I want to get the expansion pass, as they're calling it, not season pass, to do like some of the challenges stuff, because I'm really into the combat of that game. And lots of stuff have opened up towards the last few chapters, which open up the combat even further and makes it even more interesting. And I'm just really excited, like to get more out of that game, because you know, a JRPG has never like really sucked me in that much. I'm really looking forward to doing some more stuff, finding out some cool combinations and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, awesome. I'm glad that you're still enjoying Xenoblade. Like really,
It's a great story too, man. It's a really great story. I mean, I was nearly at tears at some point.
I need to pick that back up. I really do. I need to get this review title I'm on out of the way first, but I will pick it back up because it is a game I really do want to play. And seen as for the next about 4 weeks, the only games coming out I want to play that are coming out are fighting games. I'm pretty sure I can fit Xenoblade 2 around them. Pretty sure.
I'm sure you can. Too bad you can't stream it.
Yeah, it is a shame, isn't it? Plus, also, I wouldn't. I've kind of made a pledge to myself to until they sort out the way they treat streamers and YouTubers. I'm determined to either restrict or have nothing to do with Nintendo content.
I see.
Which isn't good, but to be fair, it's a load off that I don't have to cover Nintendo games. Because yeah, I just don't agree with the way they treat YouTubers and all of that. So you won't see me streaming a Nintendo game.
No,
I think I've done
well.
one Nintendo game in the whole history of my channel, and that was Super Metroid. And that's been the only series that's been copyright claimed.
It's been
Yeah.
copyright claimed as in like they've taken monetization. They haven't blocked you.
No, they haven't blocked me, but they are getting money for the views now. I don't monetize my videos.
Mm.
It's for me, it's a pastime. It's not a job. But the only videos I've ever had copyright claimed were the Super Metroid series.
Huh.
Shock. The only
Well,
Nintendo series. Yeah. So screw Nintendo for that.
well,
Literally.
what can you do? Yeah. Well, that's just how it is. As for
True.
games that we've been playing this week, I think both of us have been kind of playing the same one. We've been in the Dragon Ball Fighters beta,
We
right?
have. Yeah. Well, I have I've kind of been in the beta.
You've been doing laps mostly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, as far as Bandai Namco are concerned, that's a bit of a disaster, really.
They did say they had some network issues. They said they probably will extend the beta. I don't know if it's still up. I haven't gone on it, but yeah, I did play some matches. Did you do the tutorials?
I did the tutorials, yes.
Mm.
There's some interesting mechanics in that game that I didn't realize were in it when I was playing it the 3 times before that I've played it.
Which ones?
I didn't know that there's kind of semi parry,
Ah, yeah,
the kind of
yeah.
slash back thing. I didn't realize that was a mechanic, and now that I know that that's a thing, that's fucking genius. And there was another mechanic that I didn't. Oh, I didn't know about the guard cancel.
Ooh, yeah, that's a nice one.
That's a very, very good attack. Very, very good mechanic. So yeah. So how have you found the beta?
Well, I was able to play matches, like compared to you, yeah. Well, that was good for me, yeah. I enjoyed the heck out of that game, man. I really had a lot of fun. I felt, even though I didn't know how to play it, I felt that I could actually just jump in and play because they have so many nice little accessibility things going on. You can actually mash 2 different buttons to get 2 different kinds of combos. One of them
Three,
that
actually.
leads into a super. 3. Yeah, even in the hard one also kind of does that a little bit.
Yeah, the light, medium, and heavy all have combos. The
Yeah.
heavy one's a really short combo though. I think it's only like 4 hits.
It actually just slams them into the wall, and then you kind of follow them, and then you can get into like a smash thing to smash them into the ground. Yeah. But it's pretty good. It means that anybody can actually literally pick this game up and play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. That's really good, even though there are some people out there, we're not going to name names, say that it's the shittiest game ever, but yeah, that's opinions. They're kind of like, buttholes.
Yeah, everyone has one, and some people talk out of them. But yeah, I would agree. It was like, because I did, in the whole time that I was playing the beta, bear in mind this was 3 separate occasions over 2 days, I did get 5 matches. Not at all on my stream, as you saw, but I got 5 matches over the whole beta, and every time, and I didn't win a single match, I'd like to point out, but I had so much fun playing that game because all of the matches were really close. Because you can, even someone who is relatively scrubby like myself, or low tier, shall we say, can do some very visually, visually satisfying stuff, which is great. So someone like me who isn't like the best at fighting games, I'm improving, but like I'm still getting there. For me to be able to do stuff in a fighting game that makes me go, ooh, that looked cool, and be able to sit back and go, yeah, I did that, is actually it encourages me to play more. And that's why I play Unist so much, because you could do the same thing in Unist. It has some very visually impressive things you can do with very little stress on the player. But yeah, I had so much fun playing that. And also, one thing I didn't realize was I didn't even think about it because I was concentrating so much on how the gameplay looked great and how the visuals in general look great. I didn't even give thought to the music, but the music in the game is great, like really good. Yeah. That kind of versus screen music in the beta, if that translates into the full game, that got me so hyped for every fight I was in. Because it was such a good song, like a good, like, heavy rock song. It was perfect. But yeah, the beta was, I really enjoyed what I had with the beta.
Well, one thing we know for sure from Arx is we could always expect good soundtrack.
Oh
We can
yeah,
expect
that's
some
true.
really hype stuff. I mean, from ever since Guilty Gear, they've had like some crazy good soundtracks.
Yeah,
So yeah, Arxis does one thing very well, and that is, like the music in their games really good.
yeah. I mean, I'd need to find out who the composer is because I don't think it's
No,
Daisuke
no, 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 no.
Ishiwatari.
Doubtful.
Um,
I think it might be some of the Dragon Ball people. I'm not sure
well,
though.
that's fine. Dragon Ball music's great too.
Mhm.
Fine. I'm happy with that. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's not all great in Arxisville, as we've come to find out recently, and that's gonna lead us into our first controversial news bit, and that is there was a BlazBlue Crosstag Battle a live stream in Japan recently, where they made a few announcements about the game, including the release date. So the game is going to be out in Japan on the 31st of May, and in the US, going to be out on June 5th. No word on Europe, but considering that they've been working with P-Cube to publish it in Europe, that's kind of to be expected from Arxis Games at this point, right?
Hmm.
But here is where the good news kind of, yeah, that's a much sooner time frame than we expected. I kind of expected a fall release or something like that. But that's where the good news kind of ends, because now Arxis decided to dish out on us a couple of announcements that have been a little bit controversial and have angered several fans, and probably most of all the Ruby fans, who they've been wanting to grab into this game. So the base game is going to retail with 20 playable characters. The base roster of the game is going to be 20 characters. There are also going to be another 20 characters as DLC, tallying it all up to 40. And on top of all of that, they announced the first DLC character would be Blake Belladonna from Ruby. She is the B in Ruby. Wow. That has been a very, very divisive set of announcements, and has created a lot of contention in the communities. So let me hear your thoughts, first of all.
Um, I'm very torn over it, but I'm not. But it's more. I'm more positive about it than I am negative. And I've seen a lot of arguments about it and a lot of the discussion surrounding it to be incredibly hyperbolic, reductive, and missing the point. Do I think it's a? I mean, my main contention, my main issue with this is they should not have announced it. If they'd have said this is the base roster, we have announced that, because by the time this live stream came about, they'd already announced the entire base roster. If they basically said this is the entire base roster, the game comes out the game comes out at this time. The first DLC character will be Blake Belladonna from Ruby. And then don't announce that there's another 19 characters after that. That would have been a lot more sensible way of doing it. The way they've done it is make themselves look incredibly, incredibly incompetent. Because who announces that amount of DLC when the game is out in 4-5 months' time? Well, no, actually, 5-6 months' time. Actually, let's be more specific on it. That's suicide, because they've already announced that Crosstag Battle is going to be at Evo Japan and also the base roster will be playable. So that means the base roster is, by all means and to all extents and purposes, the base roster is done. So why, with an extra 5 months of development time, is there 20 DLC characters? I can understand a little bit with the Ruby characters, simply because these are brand new to this sort of game characters. They need to be designed from the ground up. All of the Persona characters, the Unist characters, and the BlazBlue characters are not. Apart from slight tweaks artistically, they are identical to their original games, and also slight changes in mechanics, obviously, because they needed to bring more into one game. But it should not. They shouldn't be doing this, because it just looks really stupid on their part. It looks really incompetent on their part, and ArcSys aren't like that normally. I mean,
it was a huge surprise.
I mean, you put it very, very well in your video, in which you said that this isn't the way ArcSys normally do things, because, for instance, Central Fiction, when that released, albeit it was an entirely new disc after Chrono Phantasma Extend, but the first DLC character to be released was free, which was no, it was S. S was free.
For Central Fiction, I think it was my.
I'm sure I bought my, so it can't have been
I bought my too, but she was for a limited period. She was free, I think.
No, because I bought Central Fiction on release, so I wouldn't have paid for the DLC character, because I'm pretty sure
you probably know better than me then, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was S. And then Susanoo was unlockable in-game, which they tend to do quite a lot. And then Mai and Jubei were purchasable. But Jubei obviously came with the 2.0 update.
And 9.
I don't remember paying for 9. I think 9 was in the base game.
9 was in the base game. Why did I see her as downloadable in the in a list I found? Anyway, it's oh no, she probably was base roster. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And then and the main one I can think of is Guilty Gear Revelator, where it had all the previous DLC characters that were from Sign already unlocked in game or unlockable within the game, and then had 3 DLC characters, 2 of which were purchasable, 1 of which was free at point of release, which was Dizzy. So ArcSys don't normally do DLC this way. So I can't help but think Bandai Namco probably have something to do with this.
For BlazBlue Crosstag Battle.
Yes. No, wait, no. Crosstag Battle has nothing to do with them. Okay, so
ArcSys they're publishing it themselves.
So ArcSys are just completely shit in the bed on this one. But I don't get it. It just doesn't seem like a sensible business decision. However, I fundamentally disagree with the hyperbolic arguments that some people are making about this. One person of which was your fine self.
Okay.
In which you said that this circumstance, to do with the Ruby characters, for instance, splitting the Ruby characters up, would be like releasing a Street Fighter and making the primary trio DLC, which one they have done before Street Fighter, but that's not my point. The point is that the game's called BlazBlue Crosstag Battle. Therefore, it makes sense that the primary focus of the game would be BlazBlue. So comparing that to Street Fighter and saying that's kind of an unbalanced argument, because it's arguing that a game with BlazBlue in its name, having guest characters as DLC, is the same as a Street Fighter game keeping core roster characters as DLC. It's not quite a balanced argument. And this is the sort of hyperbolic kind of discussion that seems to be appearing on both sides. I mean, the sides defending this is also being really hyperbolic and saying no about it too. But I'm trying to stay in the middle of the two, which is very difficult to be, because I'm much more pro Crosstag Battle than I am anti, because of the options it's given in terms of how to do the DLC, and also the fact it's not doing loot boxes, which instantly puts it on a good pile in my head. And you look confused when I said about Street Fighter and DLC and Ryu Ken.
When did they have any of the trio as DLC?
In Street Fighter 3, the first version that came out did not have Ryu Ken and Chun-Li, but due to fan backlash, they introduced the characters in. The original
version, had Ryu, at least, I think.
No, it was an entirely new roster, the original Third Strike. No, not original Third Strike, original Street Fighter 3. Because they tried to move away from Street Fighter 2 and have an entirely new roster with Alex as the protagonist in place of Ryu. But there was such a backlash that Ryu, Chun-Li and Ken were introduced.
Okay, but that is an example of how removing the main cast that way is a bad thing. It's suicide. They almost killed the franchise with that move. Like, there's no denying that, okay? It's Street Fighter.
But the game is BlazBlue Crosstag Battle.
All right, let me get to that point. All right, so first of all, I'm glad that you're bringing this side, because it's important that all sides get into this discussion, because there is a very overarching thing going on here. It has to do a lot with how valid is it to have characters in fighting games be exclusively paid DLC. But that is a completely different discussion. It needs to be researched. Some definition needs to come out of this. Now, first of all, it is BlazBlue Crosstag Battle, but everything they've advertised, and this could be because of bad marketing, it could be because of a lot of things, all advertisements are showing 4 universes coming together into the game. They're not showing BlazBlue as the dominant one. So it's kind of been a little bit of an idea in everybody's head right now that we would see at the very least some significant representation from the other 3 universes. So, like, think about it this way, and this is where it bugs me a little bit, is that the roster is hugely imbalanced, and it's fine that BlazBlue has 10 characters, fine. The name is in the title, okay? But Unist has 4, P4 has 4, and Ruby has 2. And 2 are from the main 4 characters, and then the other 2 main characters are put as paid DLC. I'm not saying now that this is necessarily something that we should all be up in arms about. I mean, it is a company, they're trying to make money, but at the same time, it's very difficult to convince the fans of the community of Ruby that, you know, they should accept this, because it looks very much like a huge cash grab, Ruben.
I mean, I can't disagree with you on the balance of the roster. I can't. I mean, if they'd have just not had, like, put it this way, this would, I think, have pleased everyone across the board. Let's go with the best case scenario here. The best case scenario would be that Crosstag Battle, as its base roster, on launch, would have 8 BlazBlue, 4 Unist, 4 Persona, 4 Ruby. That way it still maintains being BlazBlue focused initially, but also it means the other 3 franchises have a equal representation. I think wouldn't that please everyone if that were the case? Which, in all fairness, Arxis have plenty of time, 5 months, to be able to do that.
But see, that's the thing. We're talking about time here, and I'm glad that you brought it up, because in my opinion, what has happened here, in conjunction with what you said about Ruby characters needing to be designed from the ground up, is I think they've ran out of time. I think they've really needed to release this game, and they ran out of time to make the characters. So that's, for me, that's what I'm thinking. This is my speculation in this whole matter, is that they needed to release this game as soon as possible, and this is what they decided to do, because it feels like a rushed release now. You have to agree with me on this, at least.
Oh, definitely. Like you said at the beginning, I was not expecting this as soon as it was. In fact, I was downright hoping it would be later than it is, because it clashes with a lot of stuff, which is really unfortunate timing.
And to me, the hyperbole is also coming a little bit from what people are reading, because this is where I am a little bit angry at the internet as a whole, is that we have already accepted DLC in our lives, okay? We have accepted it as a gaming community on the internet. And what are we doing now? We're looking at a company who's trying to put their foot into the market and say, like, hey, I want to be bigger than I am before. And they're doing something different. Instead of giving you a different disc every time like they used to, they're going with the DLC route. And what we're doing is we're taking their DLC plans and we're putting a label to shock everybody out there. 50% of the roster is locked behind a paywall. That is where I feel the hyperbole is at, is that we're taking this number, 50%, and we're shocking each other with it so that we can get at Arxis's throats, which to me is unfair.
Yeah.
They've done a very bad move, and I agree with you that the way they're marketing this is terrible, and they should do something about it ASAP. But we're also taking their words, we're twisting them, and we're making them out there for everybody to be shocked and awed at.
See, that's why I've kind of stepped away and made my own mind up about it before. I mean, I'm really glad that I've got this podcast and I've got you as a discursive kind of option here, because I wanted to take time away from this to actually think about how I personally feel about it, and also to see how it looks from not me. Because one thing, as you know, I'm very good at stepping out and being objective about things, as opposed to allowing my own emotions to interfere. So I wanted to see it from both sides. And I wanted to come into this podcast knowing exactly how I personally felt about this. And that doesn't necessarily mean me not being bothered by it. It means that I do not understand why other people are. And besides, I'm really enjoying getting caught up in the going through the silhouettes and going, oh, who could that be? Like, sort of speculation. I find that really enjoyable. I still disagree with the concept itself. I don't think this should have been done this way, as I said at the beginning, but I can't help but I've got that image saved on my laptop, and I just zoom it out, and I'm like, okay, so who's that? Who could that be? And I just go through the silhouettes, and I really enjoy that aspect. I enjoyed that with Street Fighter V as well, trying to work out who the silhouettes were.
Well, of course, Street Fighter V has abandoned that model now as well.
I mean, for the good, I'd say, because that pissed off a lot of Street Fighter players, and with good reason, to be fair. I can see it from both sides. But I really enjoyed the whole silhouette thing, because I'm not as into Street Fighter as other people, so therefore I can get a weird sense of enjoyment out of trying to figure out puzzles and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, this is not good for Arxis, especially seen as this month they're releasing a game that they've done DLC in the way, not in a good way. I don't necessarily agree with DLC and stuff like that, but they've done it in the, shall we say, market standard way of doing DLC.
It's closer to the market standard. I'm gonna argue that characters in fighting games should have the option to be bought with in-game currency, like Street Fighter V is doing. Yeah. Which again is a very slow process. Let's be honest about this, but at the least the option exists, and it should exist, because fighting game characters are the meat of the game. We're not buying fighting games for the story. We're not buying it for the survival modes. We're not buying it for anything else but to play each other. So the characters, when you lock them away as DLC, I'm sorry, but that's a little bit like ransom. A little bit like you've kidnapped them and you're asking for my money for ransom. And I mean, goddamn it, Arxis, Blake was the character I wanted. Why DLC? Anyway, I'm done with that. Yes.
However, as one last point, in a kind of counter to the point you just made, fighting game characters have always been DLC. Whichever way you slice it. Because if you think about it, what was Street Fighter versus Super Street Fighter than just additional characters? Fighting game characters have always been DLC in one shape or form or another. Like, for instance, another key example, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. What was that except an enhanced version of Mortal Kombat 3 with all of the characters that have ever been in Mortal Kombat? It was just Mortal Kombat 3 with additional characters. It's not had the term DLC put onto it, but fighting games have always been that way, where more often than not, the next iteration is just the same with additional characters. Look at the Alpha series. Look at trying to think of other examples here. Look at King of Fighters. It's just each game, especially when it comes in a set, if you get what I mean. Yeah. So, like, what comes to mind is the Alpha series and the Street Fighter 3 series. Each iteration was just additional characters and rebalancing. So DLC for characters is, but not in that name or in that that
capacity.
actual concept, it's been there since the beginning. So it's not really that alien a term. It's just now, as opposed to having to buy a whole new game for it, we buy the character. So like Rev 2 is a perfect example of that. Rather than buying a whole new game, so buying Revelator 2 as its whole own game, you bought the upgrade that had all of the balance adjustments that they'd have put into a new game, all of the new moves for the existing characters that they'd put into the new game, and then the additional characters. So Rev 2 essentially is what they would have originally put on an entirely new disc and then charged full price for again. So DLC's been here forever. It's just, it's now far too easy for companies to do what Arxis are doing with Crosstag Battle.
That I can agree with. I will make another counter argument, then we're gonna move on to the next point because we've like completely dominated this conversation on BB Tag. Just one final thing to say on this bit. Now, this is not meant more like a counter argument, but more like how do we push the market forward? How do we evolve everything? And that is, yes, that used to be a thing with fighting games. You wanted the latest version with the new characters, we'll buy a whole new super turbo extra fighting Street Fighter game in a cartridge at full price. I think now that we've come to the point to realize that this is counterproductive for the little market of fighting games, because it is a little market, and one of the reasons is because it's restrictive like that. To stay up to date with it, you have to constantly pay money. Wouldn't it be wiser for the market to evolve to the point where it's like, hey, you know what? You can pay for certain upgrades and characters as well, but you also have the option of grinding in-game currency to buy them with in-game currency if you want to. I think that would be a better evolution of the market. Yes, I agree. Traditionally, it's like that. And honestly, man, in that regard, DLC has always been a thing from the get-go. We just have named it something different now. We call it DLC, but back then we didn't have the internet. That's how it is. I mean, DLC has always been a thing. But the thing is, with all of this ability that we have with the internet, we should be evolving to a more consumer-friendly / consumer-friendly and business-friendly, more harmonious way of doing things.
Yep.
Not sure how else to phrase that.
I can't disagree with that. Cannot disagree. Yeah. That's literally perfect way to end what could have potentially turned into a really heated discussion on DLC and fighting games.
I mean, I'm accustomed to it. I'm not going to argue and go on a hyperbole. That's why I did a level-headed discussion on this with my video.
I mean, the thing is, as I said, I agreed with absolutely everything you said, bar the one point that I've already pointed out. So, you definitely did come at it with a very level head, which I infinitely respect, because a lot of people definitely didn't. Level-headedness is somewhat of a rarity, though, in the games industry, because, David Cage, Quantic Dream, you're in a bit of a PR disaster at the moment, are you not? Yeah, so to fill in everyone, the two of the higher ups in Quantic Dream, so David Cage himself and I think it's Guillaume de Fondomier, I can't pronounce that name right, but have been accused of inappropriate behaviour and sexist and homophobic jokes, leading to a toxic working environment at Quantic Dream. They have since categorically denied the allegations.
Categorically, that exact adverb has been used.
Yep, it's actually quoted as categorically denies. But the evidence really does kind of mount up. Essentially, five former employees of Quantic Dream have come forward saying that the company had a kind of culture of circulating degrading imagery. So, for instance, the actual quote in the article I have says that in February of 2017, a trove of photoshops of various employees that were homophobic or sexist in nature were discovered by an IT manager who had been subject of one of them. Cage, being his wonderful, completely ignorant of absolutely everything self, when it came out that one of said inappropriate images was of Ellen Page, obviously, his excuse and his kind of way of combating it would be to say, well, I know Ellen Page, because that is obviously going to exonerate you of all accusations. And bear in mind, this is also the person who put into the code of Beyond Two Souls a nude texture of Ellen Page's character, so he can't exactly be trusted with this sort of stuff. And he's being trusted with a game like Detroit's Become Human as well, which is just mind-boggling to me. But it's really a huge mess, and they're not doing the best thing they can to try and acknowledge and confront this. Because it's not like, not that you should have ever been able to get away with this. This should never have been a thing you should be able to get away with in a professional workplace. But now more than ever, it's career suicide to be doing that. Because just look at that, like, God, what's the big actor recently? Tail end of last year. Huge actor. House of Cards. Kevin
Jesus.
Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. Jesus, why do I get stuck like that?
Yeah, I got stuck as well. But you can't do this. You shouldn't be doing this anyway, but you cannot do this.
Now the games industry has gone Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, quite literally at this point. I have to say one thing about this, because first of all, I applaud these former employees who came forward and said these things, because I'm going to say what I believe is that every time you look at a company, you look at its culture, you can immediately, from its culture, see what the leadership is like. There is no denying that. I've worked in several companies. I have seen this at work. I have observed this at work, okay, at play. The moment that you start seeing in a company culture things like this, you can bet your bottom dollar, you can bet your rear end, your ass, that the leadership is doing something similar, or is doing something to encourage this, or set an example for it. So Cage, David, man, sorry to say this, but if you're categorically denying all of this, there's evidence that this is happening. Can't you even stand up and say, you know what, guys, I feel wholly responsible. I feel wholly responsible, and I'm going to do something about it. This is what a good leader does. This is what a good company CEO leader does. It doesn't go up and say, I know Ellen Page and I support LGBT whatever rights and all that. You just man up, you nut up, and you take responsibility because you're a leader. You chose this role.
It's you make a fantastic point. As the last thing that I want to say on this, because I would like to move on, because this doesn't leave a particularly great taste in my mouth. It's definitely a controversy. It definitely needs to be brought up, but it doesn't leave the best taste in my mouth, because I fundamentally disagree with it. I disagree with the way they're behaving. I disagree with the way they've been dealing with it since, and that leads me into my next point, and that's that Cage has been accused, obviously, of being homophobic and being racist, with two people who came forward about the culture in the company, asked an employee of Tunisian descent if one of the perpetrators in a burglary surveillance video that he saw was their cousin, which is a racist thing to say. But when he was called out on this by Le Monde, which is a French newspaper, I believe, when he was called out on this, his actual quote in reply was, "You want to talk about homophobia? I work with Ellen Page, who fights for LGBT rights. You want to talk about racism? I work with Jesse Williams, who fights for civil rights in the USA. Judge me by my work." was his quote. And we are judging you by your work, because you fostering any sort of homophobic, racial, or sexual misconduct in your workplace is your work.
I am besides myself with shock. I mean, what the hell? Okay, dude, let me make real world shit right now, okay? I mean, sorry, I know you want to move on, but real world shit here, okay? People will judge you by the things you say, especially when you're a public figure. That is it. Stop. It doesn't matter how you feel about all of this. The moment the words leave your mouth, you have made a contract with the universe. You have told the universe, this is what I want the world to hear. And this is what represents me. It's like marketing. The words you say are like marketing for yourself. End of story. Moving on.
Also, one last thing. You bringing Ellen Page into this discussion, that has all of the hallmarks, all of them, of saying, I'm not homophobic, I have a gay friend. That's what that sounds like to me.
Exactly.
And then you following up with saying, no, I can't be racist. I work with a black person. No.
I'm not racist, my wife's Asian.
just Cage, and I can't pronounce the surname of the CEO. Sort this out. Now. Well, yesterday would be preferred, but now, while you can, because Quantic Dream is going to collapse otherwise. And I don't enjoy their games, but some people do. So don't allow the art to be stopped by you fostering horrible, horrible environments in your workplace.
They should just straight up be shut down for this, but anyway, who am I to judge? Right, moving on to news, because, yeah, there's been some okay news, there's been some great stuff going on, so we're gonna just jump really, kind of lightning fast on this, because we got a lot bigger things to talk about. We got Ninja stuff to talk about.
Yes,
right, so Street Fighter V patch notes have been out. And from the time you've been watching this podcast, obviously you've also been playing AE, but yeah, nothing too new here, like some changes and some hitboxes changed and some hurt boxes moved, and that's pretty much it. Vague stuff.
Yeah,
Capcom with the patch notes.
Yeah, because I said to you, like, not on the podcast, but I said to you in one of our PMs, that I don't understand patch notes. It's just not something my brain can kind of get around with fighting games. But I looked through those patch notes and I was just like, so what have they changed? Like, how is anyone supposed to get anything from this? Just like when it just said hurtbox on this move has changed, I'm just like, but how has it changed? Don't just put hurtbox has changed, because that doesn't really clue anyone in as to what has actually happened. Has it extended? Has it got smaller? Has it moved up? Has it moved down? How has it changed, Capcom?
And this is weird because these things are intermixed with actual tangible patch notes. Like, for example, they talk about Rashid's crouching high punch. When it hits, it's -6 instead of -7, which means that he can no longer do a sweep. He can't combo a sweep in to get a knockdown, which is a good change, and it's something that we can tangibly understand. And they've also included things like we've removed throw loops, we've made the recovery frames on command throws longer so that you have more chance to punish, which has been a very divisive change, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, they've intermixed all of this hurtbox and hitbox movements with tangible patch notes. It's kind of silly, to be honest with you, but yeah, Capcom, really. Start doing videos. Just show us the changes in videos. You did a lovely video with all the V-Trigger 2s. A lovely one. Why couldn't you do something for the hitboxes and stuff? I'm baffled.
Well, we'll find out all about that in a couple of days' time.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on, PUBG now has 3 million players on Xbox. 3 million
On
players.
Xbox.
Yes,
This is not this not with the Steam people. This is
that's
like
just
Xbox.
Xbox. So well done, PlayerUnknown Battleground. That is quite impressive.
Great. Amazing.
For a game that's not particularly well made. And they've had to put out multiple fixes on Xbox because it was released in the same state it was on Steam in, which is a unfinished state. I still have a real big bug up my rectum about this game winning Game of the Year awards last year, as you can tell. But like, seriously, like, fair play to you. What, 3 million players out there playing it? Like, if you're enjoying it, fair play to you, because there's not many games that can have that big a player base. So if you're playing it, if you're enjoying it, fair play to you. You're one of 3 million. So clearly you're part of the majority.
Good, and that's great, and it's also even better. Like that, and this comes also following. This was also news that Fortnite Battle Royale has had about 2 million concurrent players as well across platforms, which is coming to show that this Battle Royale genre is actually picking up a lot of steam. And we're seeing a lot of copycats. We're seeing other people trying to implement this into their games and stuff. And it's it's taking the gaming world by storm. And I don't know, I don't enjoy it, but I think it's great that there's another genre out there for people to get excited about.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed entirely.
So there's a company out there that wants to build more excitement as well. They're probably not introducing a Battle Royale mode anytime soon to their game, but they definitely want to try and make amends, and that is Bungie. Bungie has pledged several improvements to Destiny 2 by the time the year ends, and I'm going to have a look at some of these. All right. So first of all, they have acknowledged that the Eververse, the in-game store, basically, has become too much, like, has been dominating the game too much. So they want to backtrack that a little bit. They want it to be less of the thing that dominates the end game. Not that, that wasn't the plan to begin with. They did want it to dominate the end game, but now they've realized that nobody likes that, and they have to fix it, right? What else? They are going to bring back 6 versus 6 playlists to competitive multiplayer, to Crucible. I'm not a fan, personally. I didn't like 6 versus 6. I prefer 4 versus 4 that they did in Destiny 2, but okay, that's what the community wants, and yeah, hopefully they can make good on that. They want to be more transparent about XP gains. And like they say, our goal is with any updates to XP are transparency and consistent XP gain regardless of your preferred activity. Because there was that debacle that once you hit max XP, max level, suddenly the XP gain significantly is reduced.
I remember.
Yeah, that was a thing as well. They are going to be introducing Masterwork armor. What that basically means, now they've got Masterwork level weapons, which means that you could actually get re-rollable stats on weapons, which was a thing that people liked in Destiny 1 that they removed from Destiny 2. And now they're going to introduce this feature for armor as well, and possibly exotic masterworks for like the really rare pieces of weapons and armor. And that's going to happen at the end of this month, specifically.
Okay. That's quick.
What else? Well, anyway, that's some of the big stuff. There's a lot that they want to do. I don't want to spend too much time because, quite honestly, until Destiny 2 decides, Bungie convinces me that they finally learned their lesson and they want to make this game great, I'm not going to give it too much time. What I am going to say, though, is we're bringing Destiny 1 into Destiny 2. That is basically bringing all of the good stuff that they should have had in Destiny 2 from the get-go from Destiny 1. Something you described as 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. I would say mostly like 2 steps forward, 5 steps backwards, but okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that they started, as you quite aptly described it when we've been discussing it before, they brought out Destiny 2 having learnt nothing from Destiny 1, and because Destiny 1 actually reached a place that people were happy with it, and then when they released Destiny 2, they were just like, oh no, that stuff they were happy with, that's fine, let's cut that out, and just step back a few steps. Yeah, so I don't know, Bungie doing something that the players want, I guess that's a good thing. And people still love Destiny 2, so more power to them, I'd say.
it has it has a very good single player story and missions going on in the beginning, but once you hit level cap and you're doing endgame, that's where it just all falls apart. And that's why everybody was praising it in the beginning, and now suddenly everybody's shitting on it, because that's the effect that's created.
Yeah, well, hopefully they will learn.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Well, let's see. Let's see.
However, talking about other companies that are learning quite quickly, actually, Nintendo, despite having the mini direct, which we will get to later, they decided to throw out another announcement that has got a lot of people kind of chomping at the bit for. They have announced that Detective Pikachu is actually going to get a worldwide release. For those who don't know, Detective Pikachu is a 3DS adventure game solving mysteries with a wisecracking, actually speaks English Pikachu with you. Obviously called Detective Pikachu. But episode 1 of Detective Pikachu has been out in Japan for a while. But what they're doing is when episode 2 launches in Japan, they're coinciding that with a worldwide release of Detective Pikachu on 3DS with an amiibo as well. A Detective Pikachu amiibo, which is actually twice the size of the normal Smash Brothers Pikachu amiibo.
Oh, okay.
And that's all coming in March. So I must admit, personally speaking, I don't have any interest in the game at all. But there's a lot of people out there that are quite excited about it, like a lot of PokeTubers I watch and stuff like that. So yeah, anything to get people happier, in my opinion, is definitely welcome.
Sounds like an interesting concept. Detective Pikachu wisecracking, speaks English. That's kind of weird, but okay, I'll spin that. That sounds pretty interesting. I'd like to see more of that.
I mean, I'm not interested in the game, but I am interested in the movie that they've announced they're making of Detective Pikachu, where Pikachu is actually voiced by Ryan Reynolds. I am 100% sold on that.
I thought that was a joke. Are you serious? That's really happening.
It does seem like it's really happening. I may have got the wrong end of the stick, but from what I read, it does appear to be actually happening.
Oh my god, I'm so on board with that. But speaking of being on board, now somebody's getting off board, and that would be Niantic. Pokemon Go will soon not be supporting older iPhone models. And I'm not sure from which models and below we're talking here, but I'm assuming that's like the iPhone 5 range or something like that.
Yeah, the 5 and the 5C and any phone before that. So the 5S is still supported, but 5C and any iPhone before that will no longer be supported by Pokemon Go, i.e. they will not be able to, it's because when I read it, I thought when it said dropping support, I was like, okay, so there'll be no more tech support or anything. No, it means that Pokemon Go will be unplayable on those devices, which I don't play Pokemon Go. I do not care for the game. However, there are a lot of families that play Pokemon Go with their kids on older second-hand devices that are now not going to be able to play it. And still, Niantic haven't sorted out the basic issues with the game. So what are they doing? Niantic have all of the hallmarks for me of a company that have got hold of a massive license but don't quite know what they're doing yet. Yeah, I can't help but think that that's a really bad idea. Like really, really bad.
This is always a sticky situation with the phones. I mean, and it's part and parcel the reason that I'm slowly moving away from getting any more iPhones, because this is what Apple does. I mean, this is an Apple thing. Like, you know, we're trying to push you to, you know, buy the latest one, which doesn't have a headphone jack anymore. Well, that seems to be a thing that everybody else is doing, but whatever. But I'm starting to feel even for my iPhone 6S that now on iOS 11, it's getting slower. I'm seeing glitches and stuff. It's getting weird. So this is not news to me. I mean, I've heard of these things happening before with other games, but again, like you said, there are families playing this with their kids and kids having second-hand, third-hand phones. What are they gonna do, man? You want a kid to line up for the iPhone 20? Is that what you want, Niantic?
Well, no, that is what they want.
They want to get the kids hooked on the iPhones, the upgrades, all of that shit. Anywho,
And
let's move on.
yeah, addiction is a thing in gaming, as proven with the loot box controversy that has gone into this year. And who were at the front of the loot box controversy, I wonder, despite their insistence that they weren't? Activision Blizzard and Overwatch. So Overwatch has done something recently that I have a personal gripe with. To celebrate the Overwatch League that has begun, which a lot of people are really enjoying watching. Fair play to them. They have introduced for every one of the 26 characters on the roster 12 new skins, each one of which is designed around the one of the teams that is participating in the Overwatch League's first season. So that's 12 teams, 12 skins for each character. So that actually adds up, if you multiply it, to 312 skins. Now, these skins aren't skins as such. They are more kind of color palettes for I don't know what they're called in Overwatch. Are they champions or are they legends or what are they called?
Heroes.
Heroes, yes. Okay.
Heroes never die.
So for each of the heroes, it's their default skin, just with a different color palette related to one of the dozen teams in the Overwatch League. Now,
and some insignia from the teams as well.
Oh yeah, and the insignia. So we're thinking in terms of how well made these skins are. Think the Street Fighter Red Bull ones, and you've got roughly where we're going. Now, how these skins work is different than how skins normally work in Overwatch. Normally, they're locked behind loot boxes, which is a terrible practice, and both me and Akibana at various points have denounced this practice. However, the Overwatch League skins are all sold individually for 100 tokens, 100 League tokens, which is a new currency that they've just introduced to Overwatch. 100 League tokens, if you just buy 100 League tokens, costs $5.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they're introducing packs where you can get multiple sets of League tokens, sorry, for a set amount of dollars. However, 100 tokens per skin, and quite thankfully, and I'm very proud, very happy they've done the maths for me. GameSpot have worked out that at the cheapest way you can do it, so in other words, with the biggest possible packs, to get all 312 would cost in the region of about $1,200.
Holy shit.
For colors.
Now, I know in my understanding here that the idea is that if you support a certain team and you like a certain hero, you're probably going to aim for getting skins for the heroes you like and for the team you support.
Yeah.
But I'm very certain there are some crazy people out there who are going to drop $1,200 to get all of the skins.
Yes.
And that's what they're banking on, is what I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming gesture of goodwill, if you log in to the servers before February 13th, you get 100 tokens for free.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that's one skin. And that's the equivalent of $5.
Yay.
Don't they treat us over there at Activision Blizzard? I don't play Overwatch. I don't know why I said us. But, Activision Blizzard. Like, you've taken one thing out and put in something that's a little bit worse.
Well, they're getting more freebies than I'm getting in Hearthstone, so there's something. I took my little dig at Hearthstone over there.
I don't know, that seems to be, I think that's kind of like a weekly Hearthstone dig corner we've got going on.
Yeah, I'm going to start that as well, yeah, because that's the thing, is that Hearthstone is supposed to be a free-to-play game, but it's the least rewarding free-to-play game on the market. Anyway. Anyway,
we should
yeah.
we should have a little chime and just have a corner.
Yeah, a little
during the podcast, just like a little jingle, and then you just have your little dig at Hearthstone.
Don't give me ideas. Dig at Hearthstone, dig at Street Fighter. Don't give me ideas. But yeah, there you have it. That's the rapid fire news, rapid fire dish. Let's move on because Nintendo has done it again. They've kicked off 2018 with a bang, I have to say here. And they did do a direct, as they were rumoring, and, you know, everybody was doing their little detective work online to figure out if the direct is happening or not. They gave us a mini direct. But boy, oh boy, was this not a mini direct at all.
It was packed.
It was packed with announcements after announcements. All stuff coming this year, the first half of the year. Not past summer. We're talking everything up to early summer. Okay. First things first. And I'm so excited for this. The World Ends With You is coming to Switch. With all the content, it's called Full Remix. It's going to include both the touch controls and regular controls on Joy-Con if you want that way. But yes, I'm super excited. The World Ends With You is an amazing game, and you should all play it right now.
Yep. The World Ends With You is up in my top 10 games of all time. I am so glad it's coming to Switch.
Such a great art style, great story, good, lovely combat system.
Phenomenal soundtrack.
Phenomenal soundtrack. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, but The World Ends With You could not be I mean, I genuinely could not be happier. I don't know whether you've ever seen me wear I've got a red hoodie that has pin badges on it.
No.
And the only kind of things that I have as pin badges are things that I hold really dear to me, like things I genuinely love. One of them is a player pin from World Ends With You.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I genuinely love absolutely everything about that game. Speaking of which, Dark Souls Remastered. Very end of the broadcast. Very end. We knew it was coming, or I knew it was coming anyway, but Dark Souls Remastered coming to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC in May. That is why I'm so annoyed that Crosstag Battle comes out in June, because I want to be playing Dark Souls for the I don't know how manyth time. And also they've upscaled things and apparently made fixes to erroneous parts of the game, which I'm really hoping, really hoping Lost Isleth please have sorted out that lava. Keep Bed of Chaos the same, don't care, just don't make it so much of a horrendous affront to my eyes to walk into Lost Isleth. But yeah, the fact that with the PS4 and Xbox One version they're bringing it up to 60 FPS,
great,
and 1080p. With the Switch version it's going to be 30 frames, which is what it is on the original version, which I had no issue with, by the way. And that's going to be 720p undocked and 1080p docked. So, and apparently it's going to have maximum 6-player online, which is different than the 4-player online that currently exists. So that's really good. And also another thing I've heard, which pleases me so much, is they're bringing over one of the things they introduced in Dark Souls 2 to Dark Souls 1, which is the password system. So if you and your friends want to actually play together in co-op, you can both set a password on each end, and then that means you will only be linked with each other when co-op is activated, which is genius. And I'm so glad they're bringing that into Dark Souls 1, because that means I can play through the whole game with your fine self.
Jolly cooperation on Switch, you and I. It's a go. It's a happening.
And the thing is, I'm really hoping, fingers and everything else crossed, that I get a press copy on Switch, because that will give me an excuse to buy it on PS4 as well.
I have it on PC already. If I'm going to get it somewhere else, it's going to be the Switch. That's that enough said. Right, and next announcement that I'm really excited for, because this game looks like insanely fun, is Kirby Star Allies.
It does.
Kirby Star Allies, it's a remake of a Super Nintendo Kirby, if I remember correctly, right? And it's got 4-player co-op. Kirby can change multiple abilities by sucking in enemies as he usually does. But not only that, your friends you're co-oping with, you can actually combine abilities to form other abilities, which is insane to think of. This game looks bananas crazy good, man. Really, really fun. I'm so excited for this.
It looks so kind of aesthetically nice as well. You can tell there's been a massive amount of work put into the visuals between the first trailer we saw, like way back, and this trailer.
So polished now.
Yeah, it's
so good.
So polished now. And not to mention, DDD looks buff as hell. Have you seen the new design for DDD? Like,
I saw it, man. It's ridiculous, and it's so good. It's so good.
Oh, I must admit, it won't be a I will rush out and buy it, but it will be a I will have that by the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the last few Kirby games I've bought, I've really, really enjoyed. So that's definitely going to be on my list. And in terms of co-op games, also, they're bringing back Tropical Freeze.
Holy crap,
Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I am so happy about that because I co-opted that game like from beginning to end with one of my friends, and it is such a fun game to play in co-op. So much fun. And introducing Funky Kong into it, who by the sounds of things seems to be a very, very easy mode character. So like he can float by spinning his surfboard in the air like Dixie Kong can. He can walk. He can jump on spikes because he has the surfboard underneath him like Cranky Kong can. And also he has superb jumping distance, so obviously that's covering the Diddy Kong. So basically he's just such a good character. So like if you wanted, let's just say, I know very well she's not the age of it, but if you wanted to play a game with Celestia Rouge, for instance, that's perfect. You could have her as Funky Kong, and she could very easily make her way through the level with you without having anywhere near as much trouble as you're having. And that's great. I mean, Tropical Freeze already had fantastic accessibility options. So introducing a character that makes it even more accessible for players that don't have either one, the capability, or two, don't have the like cognitive ability, is just a fantastic thing. And also it's a great game that more people really do deserve to have played. So I'm glad it's coming to Switch.
Me too, and I'm glad that you brought up my daughter into this, because this is one thing that really, really excites me about the Switch, is that I can introduce her to gaming, to gaming through games that are actually meant for her, for the entire family to play, and they're good family games. They're not like shitty little family games. They're good. They're good family games, and this is it's incredible that they're bringing that. Now, another thing that's incredible, and it's incredible because I never thought I'd be ever remotely excited for a game like this. Mario Tennis Aces. Oh my god, have Nintendo managed to get me excited for a tennis game?
It does look good though, and also it's being made by Camelot, so they can definitely be trusted with this, because they made one of the really good Mario Tennis games. I can't remember how far back it was, but they made a really good Mario Tennis game back in the day. I mean, the sports Mario games are not for me. But this one does look like they're learning from the mistakes they made with the last one. Definitely.
Seems like it, yeah. And it's going to have a story mode, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a heck of a time. I can't wait to play this with the missus and my daughter at some point. It's really cool.
Oh, your daughter's so cute. I can't wait for her to be a little gamer. It's gonna be great.
I should feature her at some point.
Oh, you totally should. Special guest. So we also had the announcement that they're bringing Ys 8. Ys 8? I think it's 8.
Yes, it's 8. Yeah,
to Switch. So another anime-based JRPG, which is quite literally my genre. So bring it, Nintendo, just bring it on. I'm ready for another JRPG to take up the time that I don't have. I'm
so
totally
am I.
ready.
So am I.
Just bring it on. I cannot wait.
I mean, Xenoblade took 120 hours out of my life. I mean, I'm ready to take it for something to take another 120.
Yeah,
That's fine.
and Ys 8 looks absolutely beautiful as well. So I genuinely cannot wait. It's gonna be it's gonna be so busy, so busy.
Very busy. Very, very busy. The combat system looks really interesting as well.
Oh, it does, definitely. It looks like it's learning from a lot of what modern JRPGs are doing with combat, which is good because a lot of modern JRPGs are doing some really interesting things with combat. So that really needs a thing.
Combining abilities and different types of characters together. That's always very interesting. Xenoblade does that very well, and I can't wait to see what East does with this as well. With this next game, you're going to have to help me a little bit because I don't totally remember it, so maybe it was my least favorite of all. Fe?
It was a little kind of atmospheric, interestingly aestheticized, like platformer.
Yes.
It looks very similar in terms of aesthetic to Ori of the Blind Forest. I think it's by the same devs actually.
Could be, yeah. Which that game needs to be on the Switch as well, but it's an Xbox exclusive. Oh well. Yeah. It looked. Yeah, I remember what it was. It was very story driven, very atmospheric, quite creepy a little bit at times as well. I have to say. But it looks like it has a bit of that cutesy creepiness to it, which is pretty cool. And I think that's something, again, that fits with the Switch. Like, you want to play something really, really story-driven, to play it in bed, like your bedtime story kind of deal.
There's one game I actually forgot off the list, which I know that I'm interested in, and you might be interested in, before I actually get to the next bit of the big talk in our list. SNK Heroines.
Yep. That was weird, but I so want to get it.
I'm all for SNK waifu team battle. I'm totally for it. I mean, about me. I'm not a waifu person, but you can dress them up, and it's a team fighter, and it's simple inputs. So that's me sorted on all 3 levels.
Yep, I can't wait to dress Athena in various different ways and just go all squee all over her. That was a weird announcement, but still, yeah, that's also a game that's coming on Xbox One and PS4 as well. It's my understanding. Yep. Yeah, and finally, the next few things we're going to talk about are mostly updates to current games. Mario Odyssey is getting an update. They're adding a Luigi's Balloon Rush kind of thing, where you place balloons somewhere on any map, and then players online have to go and find where the balloon is, and that's gonna have leaderboards and other stuff like that, which sounds really fun. To be honest,
it does sound like it's the sort of thing that's going to lend itself really well to streaming.
Oh yes. So Nintendo better open that shit up.
I think I recall the Nintendo community manager saying something to that effect as well. That mode is going to be fantastic when it comes to streaming.
I think so too, and I really hope they open up their practices a little bit, because I'm super jelly now. I really want to stream something like that.
Odyssey would be a really fun game to stream, and also it's spawned a lot of fantastic speedrunning.
Oh yes. Mario always does. Then we got Mario plus Rabbids is getting another map, I think, and a few characters and some modes and other stuff. That game has taken other people by the gaming world by storm. Actually, it's been a massive success, despite people first hearing about it and being like, "What the hell is this?" But yeah. And Pokken is also getting updates. It's getting another Pokemon. I forget what was the name. It was one of those sword and shield.
Two new Pokemon.
Yeah, 2 new Pokemon.
4 new support Pokemon, I think.
4 new support. And Mew is going to be one of those support. Mew and Cerebi are going to be support, which is cool. Which is really cool.
What were the 2 Pokemon? It was Blastoise,
and then it was the guy, the sword and shield.
Aegislash.
Aegislash. There you go. Yeah. I don't know all the new ones by heart, so yeah.
Yeah, I must admit, I do enjoy Pokken, but I don't play it very often. Because Pokken, unfortunately, is a game that is much better suited to local multiplayer. And I don't have anyone I can play it with. Because unfortunately, that game it really suffers where Nintendo's online interfaces come to hand. Because Nintendo's online isn't great. I have a feeling once Nintendo's online becomes paid for, it'll become better. And I really hope that's the case, because then that will make Pokken bearable online, which it needs to be. But there's actually one more game that I forgot to put on this list.
Another one.
Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition.
Oh, yes. Yes. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Yes. I haven't gotten a chance to play that game, and I was so excited for that, too.
You trust me. I own it twice, or have owned it twice. So I'm not getting it a third time. That's not happening.
You want me to lend it to you. That's what you want.
No, I just want you to play it because you got a lot out of Fire Emblem Warriors. And believe me when I say that Hyrule Warriors, I prefer Fire Emblem Warriors because I prefer the characters, because I'm not as into Zelda as I am into Fire Emblem. However, I would say that Hyrule Warriors is the better game out of the two. And I am so glad that you're considering picking that up, because it is a fantastic game that unfortunately not many people got to play, because obviously the first version came out on Wii U, which obviously didn't sell very well, and the second version was new 3DS really only. It did run on the normal 3DS, but it ran poorly.
It ran very poorly. 3DS. I didn't pick it up because it was supposedly running poorly, and I had a classic 3DS.
Yeah, but yeah, the fact that that's bringing all the DLC from Legends, plus also additional Breath of the Wild outfits for Zelda and Link into the mix.
Which look really cool.
They do look really cool, but I'm not going to buy the game a third time where the only thing I'm going to get out of buying it the third time is outfits from a game I don't like very much. It doesn't suit me to do that. So I won't be getting Definitive Edition, but I'm so glad it's coming.
That's fair. All right, and that's going to be it for the Direct as well. It was really, really awesome, really hype, and apparently we can expect more to come really soon, because usually after a mini Direct, apparently comes a normal Direct. And apparently also all of those pre-order, how do I put it, placeholder games on Amazon haven't been filled out yet. So
I've heard that too.
More detective work, internet. Here we go. Right, so really quickly, got anything to share?
No, not really. Everything's just ticking along at the moment. So daily updates on riled.gamer.com, daily videos going up on my YouTube channel, which is linked through my website if you want to find it quicker, because I know my YouTube is just youtube.com/numbers and letters, so it's hard to find. So the link is literally on the front page of my website, so riled.gamer.com. I've got a couple of reviews coming up in the next couple of weeks, but I can hype those up closer to the time.
All right, good, very good. As for me, yeah, I as of this video, I've already done the stream for Arcade Edition on January 16th, but you can watch the VOD on Twitch or on YouTube, because I double stream now. I restream, which is the cool thing to do these days, apparently. And yeah, I've got another Getting into BlazBlue Crosstag Battle video up as well, talking about fighting game controllers. Which one should you buy? Should you buy a controller specific to fighting games? You'll find out in my video. And yeah, as usual, Ruby reactions and other game content coming out as well. Right, so yeah, you can find the podcast on Anchor now, and that's going to be at anchor.fm/AkibanaZero, or you can get the Anchor app and search AkibanaZero, and you can favorite it, and you'll be able to find it. We're slowly rolling out on iTunes and other podcasting outlets in the coming weeks as well. Right, so social links, let's start. Where can people chat with you, man?
Easiest place to chat with me, come and find me on Twitter, right underneath me right now. So at @RuTheGamer on Twitter is the easiest place to chat to me, or by all means, come and comment on any of my articles on Ru the Gamer. I would be ruthegamer.com. I'd be happy to speak to you there. Or if you do fancy joining me on one of my incredibly foul-mouthed and salty streams, you can come to twitch.tv/RuTheGamer on a Tuesday, Thursday, or Sunday.
Me too. I'm also on Twitter at AkibanaZero. Find it right underneath here. You can also find me on YouTube. Comment on my videos, youtube.com/c/AkibanaZero. Any of my videos, I'm always actively responding to my community there on YouTube. So feel free to come and chat and comment or leave a like or a dislike if you will. And that's your Gaming Blast for the week. We hope you all have a great week of gaming, and we'll catch you next time.
See you soon.